A looming Supreme Court decision could have a big impact on Indiana's wetlands. The nation's highest court heard oral arguments this month in an important case. The case challenges the Environmental Protection Agency's authority to regulate wetlands. WRTV Investigates Kara Kenny is digging into how this could affect you.
This wetland here in Eagle Creek Park is just one of many across the state that helps reduce flooding and purifies water. Some say a Supreme Court decision could put wetlands like this one in jeopardy. Carrie Roberts walks Eagle Creek Park 3 times a week with a friend.
There's a lot of animals out around in the fall, especially the colors are beautiful.
She passes by several wetlands during her walks. Do you ever think about wetlands?
Not necessarily that part of it. It's just the enjoyment of the park, really. Just having some place that, is natural and taken care of.
Indra Frank is giving wetlands a lot of thought. She's the water policy director for the Hoosier Environmental Council. How are you feeling about this Supreme Court decision?
I'm worried about it.
Currently, 80% of Indiana's wetlands have federal protection. That could drop to 20% if the Supreme Court rules against the EPA. How big of a deal is this?
This is a big deal.
Some wetlands are protected by city parks. Others, like Browning Marsh in Zionsville, are protected by the Central Indiana Land Trust, meaning no one can build a road or a building on it or turn it into farmland. Many Indiana wetlands rely on federal protection. If protections are stripped away, Frank says you could see a loss of wildlife and see more flooding in your neighborhood as a result.
Wetlands serve as like a giant sponge on the landscape. An acre of wetland can hold 1 million gallons of water or more. So when we have the big rains, the big storms, the wetlands can help soak up some of that and reduce the amount that's running straight into streams and causing flooding.
Last year, Indiana passed a law that removed state protections for wetlands, despite more than 100 groups who signed a letter asking the governor to veto it. One of the state bill's biggest supporters was the Indiana Builders Association, which points out regulations at the federal, state, and local level now account for roughly 25% of the cost of a house. Regarding the federal case, IBA told us, "We do not have an official comment at this time, as I am sure we will once the Supreme Court makes a decision on the case." Indra Frank says the Supreme Court's decision comes at a crucial time for Indiana. Researchers say Indiana receives 5.5 inches more of precipitation than it did a century ago.
We're on track to increase another 6 to 8%. So we're receiving more water than ever, and more of it is arriving in extra heavy storms. We actually need our wetlands more than ever.
Working for you, Kara Kenny, WRTV.
The Supreme Court's decision on this case could come sometime anytime during this fall, but may not happen until next year. We also reached out to state lawmakers who sponsored the bill that impacted state protections of wetlands, and we have yet to receive responses from any of them.